That's bad, mate, Christine.
Only tea.
Dear Jeanette.
Any declarations of interest? No? Do we have any procedural announcements?
Just the usual. Just the usual. Yeah. Please make sure your phone's silent. Obviously, we're recording the meeting. Is anyone else recording the meeting?
Yes.
Right. So, Ken's also recording the meeting.
Do you have any questions from the public?
I've not received any in writing, Chairman. Is there any? Although I did post the notice of the meeting late. So, are there any questions from the floor? No.
If I could just ask everyone to look at the minutes, please. They're at attachment D.
Councillor Ned, did you say you moved from the press?
All right.
Second.
Yeah.
Is that agreed?
Everyone happy with that?
Speak now.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Moving on to accounts for payment and bank reconciliation. We have the bank reconciliation. Chair? Sorry?
Can I just say I haven't had any papers for the meeting?
No, I apologise to the committee for not tabling the papers until this evening, and I apologise to you again for having tabled them, not tabling all of them, because it turns out that these ones are missing. So they're all now in the Dropbox folder, which I'll send you the link to. I don't reasonably expect anybody's going to be able to go through all the payments at the meeting, but we'll focus on the bank reconciliation, and if members, when they've had an opportunity to look at the payments, have any questions, please let me have them and I will endeavour to answer them for you. The bank reconciliation, I mean, the key element here, as members will be aware, is that this is the number, these are the bank balances that the system gives us based on what we've got through it, and then you have to check that they reconcile to the bank statement, and the bank statements, the bank balances are produced here. So this is 689 from the savings account, which is the same as that, and then we have the current account, which is 31411, which is 31411. So they do balance. These are the unpresented checks, so these are checks that have been issued but not yet cashed, which is taken into account. The only two that are really of any age are these two from July. We have chased these, this is why they've not been banked. One is a payment that's to do with Moriacom, where we had to reimburse for some costs, not been banked, and one, I'm not sure what that is, although I believe it may have been something to do with fame. I need to confirm that, and I will confirm that.
Okay.
The payments are here if people just want to have a quick look through them. I'm trying to make it big without secrecy. Yeah, it's difficult.
I mean, it is difficult, and I appreciate that, and again, we have to apologise for that. But if we can ask people to have a look at their leisure and come back to it, Alan, that might be the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'll upload all these onto the website and into the Dropbox for members' benefit later on. But unfortunately, the boring story is that Susan did the bank reconciliation before she went on holiday, and couldn't get it off her computer until she came back. I mean, that's the really boring answer. But they are all there. They do turn up and reconcile. Obviously, members can go through them at their leisure and come back if there's any queries on them. We can always revisit them.
I mean, when you look at what the committee has requested to do, approve the payments of accounts, don't think we can really do that. But we can note the bank reconciliations because we have seen that the reconciliation is okay.
Well, Chairman, would you defer the approval of the payments to full council then?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Acceptable.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yep. Yeah.
I just don't think we can actually, given the time frame that we've had to look at them, approve those for council.
Is can we know the bank reconciliation
Yeah,
with the state?
yeah.
Or do you, I mean, you can defer that as well if you want.
We've got that, and that's pretty clear to see, so I don't have any problems with that. Does
Agreed.
anyone else?
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item is our code of conduct, which is the National Association.
Right, as it says, Chairman, the County Durham Association of Local Councils has looked at revising its model code of conduct, and it has made a recommendation in its executive that all local councils in the county adopt it, so that everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet when it comes to the code of conduct. I think I sent this round at the time. Remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I forwarded the email around at the time. Helen's nodding, so yeah. So you hopefully will have seen it, although it's only been tabled this evening. So basically, what you've been asked to consider is the recommendation of CEDAW, which was that all town and parishes are recommended to adopt the new code of conduct in place of their own one, and really that's for you to consider. I've just got, I mean, our existing code of conduct, as you know, it says on the agenda, was adopted in November 2015. It was adopted from the code of conduct at Epping, which is where I used to work, rather than the model now code of conduct, with some local additions. The County Durham's one has been updated and includes provisions for bringing councils into disrepute, which are in there, you can read them. So really it's from its members, are you happy with the current code, or do you agree with the recommendation CEDAW to go with the new standard?
Any comments, anyone? Anyone else got any comments?
Chairman, I propose that we go ahead and adopt this new one because obviously it's been revised, it's got new legislation and etc. So I think it would be a good idea to follow through, and there's no point being in CEDAW that we're not going to take advice from.
Yeah, that's true.
I also recommend that every member of council actually sign this and put on record, so if there is any breach, there is an actual signature of a person who has indicated that they have read it and it's on record, not just a matter of opinion.
That's a good point.
I like an excellent point.
Yeah.
Should make that recommendation to the full council.
Yes.
Make a recommendation to the full council.
So that's Councillor Carmichael's proposing that we have a sign-in sheet. Councillor Marshall, I think, has seconded that. Is that agreed to recommendation? Yeah. Okay. That's item 7. Right.
And excuse me, and to take that to full council, and with the proviso that if anybody refuses to sign it, they are suspended until such time as they do sign it.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, we don't have that power. You can't. The only power that we would have was to say if you don't sign it, you can't come to subcommittee. But you can't come to subcommittee. We can do that, but we're not allowed to refuse anybody to come to a full council meeting because you're elected to attend a full council meeting. I agree with your sentiment, but it wouldn't be allowed. Am I right with what I'm saying now?
Well, I need to check, but it doesn't. I think you're probably right. I mean, I need to check it. Yeah. But I think that it's very difficult because obviously, when you stand for public office, as long as you meet the requirements to stand, which clearly you all do because you've all been duly elected, you can't be disqualified unless there's very, very, very restricted criteria, like you're committed to a serious criminal offence, or you don't attend meetings, etc. So, you know, for sitting members, if we're changing the code of conduct, I don't think you could impose any kind of sanctions, if you like, on them for refusal to sign it. However, I'm not sure why any member of council wouldn't want to sign up to a code of conduct which is about standards in public life. So I think it's kind of one of those self-policing things, really, because if that is our code of conduct and the council has adopted it, every elected member is still held to it, whether they want to sign it or not, because that's just how it is. I think actually having members sign it is a decent thing to do, because you can say actually we've all agreed that we've all signed it. So we've got it.
And we've all passed as well. That's the thing you can't say you haven't had it when you sign this.
Yeah.
I sort of say that because I remember something about the county council. You become a county councillor, you have to go in and sign certain things, or you're not a county councillor until you do sign such things. Now, I'm not certain what it is, but I would have imagined it was some sort of code of conduct.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert from the county council perspective. Obviously, when you have to sign in acceptance of office, and then when you sign a declaration of acceptance of office, it does say that you agree to adhere to the code of conduct. And so
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
So the county council does it?
Well, you did it when you signed your. You've all done it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be councillors. It's a legal requirement.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. If it's connected to that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, any further comments? No? So happy with that? Okay.
Right, Chairman, we've already discussed this in advance of the meeting. Item 8 and item 10, indeed. The budget monitoring report and the budget second draft budget have not been tabled this year, as you are aware. It's not in front of you. I simply haven't been able to complete them in the time that I've had to do it. My proposal or suggestion would be that we defer this. We have to defer it because I haven't got the report for you to consider. But what I would suggest is that the budget monitor report and an updated draft budget are completed and presented to you as the chairman and members electronically for comment before we come back to full council to consider it in more detail. We haven't got time to convene another committee to consider it. So I think that if members agree, I'll complete the report based on the working the recommendations of the projects meeting last night and tonight when it comes to the medium-term planning exercise, and then circulate that amongst the membership of the committee, take on board any comments that you have, and then get it onto the full council agenda on the 24th, whenever the meeting is. That's what I propose, Chairman.
Okay. Comments, anyone?
That's agreed.
Are we happy to do that? Okay. Item 9, the medium-term plan timeline. So everyone has in the pack on the table the medium-term plan. And the meeting that took place last night, the Finance and Governance meeting, there was a number of points that were brought up. Sorry, I mean the projects and everything. Sorry, I looked at the actual prepared for.
Yeah, well, I just changed
that. So what we do have are some suggestions that came through the projects and initiatives meeting last night, which again Nicola's circulated.
Have you got that?
I think she's given everyone them, and they look like that.
Yes.
And you have the timeline, which is already agreed, which is that. So that's what we're considering in this next item.
I'll just, Chairman, if it's okay, I'll explain for the benefit of those that weren't at last night's committee meeting. I know quite a number of you were, so apologies for sitting through it twice. What I've done is I've taken the medium-term plan actions that were agreed at council, and I have attempted to build a 3-year timeline, because clearly there's too much to be delivered in one financial year. So I've taken away each action and I've put a proposed timeline in which will enable us to deliver all of those within the lifetime of the plan. And on the medium-term plan document, we have objective 1, which is champion the regeneration of Stanley. I've just plotted the overview. This is just an overview. It's not an actual timeline for everything. So where it says champion the regeneration of Stanley, well, I've put a start date and a finish date in there. It says we should start that now and we should finish that by April next year to do that piece of work. obviously what I haven't done is underneath each one of these there will be a more detailed timeline which will break out all the individual types of actions that are required for that overall item to be delivered. Now the projects committee last night, the way that I put it together was I'd looked at what was in the plan and looked at how we could get there, and I put some things in for 2019 and some things in for 2017, sorry. And the committee last night said, well, actually, the main one really was the wardens, the objective 2. I proposed objective 2 to come in with the planning and preparation to start next summer, and then looking at delivery through 2019. The committee last night said their opinion was that actually no, that is a priority for us, so we want that pulled forward for delivery at the beginning of next year. And also, and this comes into item 6, objective 6, which is actually the one which really is relevant to this committee, which about reviewing the staffing structure. They wanted that to be delivered and hopefully to be aimed to get that in place as well. So whereas we put it, further back, actually they want that at the front. So what that means is that we need to, if that recommendation is going to be adopted, and obviously this committee may take a different view, we may take the same view, but if that recommendation is going to be adopted, essentially I need to rework the timeline and I need to completely rework the budget if we're accepting that recommendation. So had I done the piece of work which was missing, I'd need to throw it away and completely redo it anyway. So maybe that was a bit of an efficiency by default. But basically what I need to do is then, if we accept the recommendations of the projects committee in terms of the timeline, then we need to rejig the budgets accordingly and the planning accordingly. So what we did last night at the meeting was we went through every objective. We looked at the timeline, and the projects committee said yes, happy with that, or actually no, not happy with that. You've got the piece of paper of the things that they recommended, and it's up there on the screen. So their recommendations were that objective 2 for environmental crime, whereas I put in there that we began the obviously the police vehicles we dealt with this month, but then we began looking at the to roll out the wardens in March 19, 2020. The recommendation for projects was actually no, we want that to be delivered in the next financial year, which means we need to start the planning and preparation for that now, and we need to get the budgets in place now. For objective 3, I had put in the report, and you can see what it says in the report, I'd said in there that I haven't estimated because we haven't developed specific projects, and I highlight the fact that we've got a provision in there for the STARS project at the moment, but nothing beyond that. What the projects committee put forward was that actually they wanted to establish a small grants pot against that, so that we had some flexibility to fund small projects in the next financial year. For objective 4, the recommendation was that we should, and this is in the action plan, this is already in the medium term plan, but there was a question mark about the armed forces event, because obviously Council has previously decided that the armed forces event we need to get the plan in process straight away, so that we didn't lose things like, the armed services that attend, because they get booked up, and various things, bits and bobs. So we needed to get that one planning. The decision or the recommendation of the committee last night was actually that one. The delivery of that event should be put in with the tender for the other events, along with playing the park, Christmas, etc. So that should all be bundled up into one package, if you like, to be tendered for an external provider. And that there should be, so that's why there's a recommendation that the budget should be increased, because it's putting the armed forces money in with the rest of the budget. In terms of objective 5, their recommendation was that we should get this round table meeting together to talk about working together. And this is in response to Councillor Clark, your motion about the universal credit. Basically on the report, item 4, the reason it's highlighted in yellow, and I did say to you when I didn't get emotional, actually we'd handle it because everyone wanted to do something about universal credit. And I discussed with the projects committee last night what your idea was about, can we plug some extra resource into food bank or existing providers that we're funding to give some extra support to local people. The projects committee were in favour of that. They asked me to convene a roundtable meeting with all local providers, so that's your CABs, Dog Christian Partnership, Packed House, and then you can go on, Shape, just with blah blah blah, to get everyone in a room together with councillors, so we can actually explore where we might be able to plug some resources in that are going to have a benefit to people. So I've been given the task of organising that meeting already. So although I didn't table the motion, we've kind of done it, if you know what I mean, because it was in here anyway. So I've already started contacting people to try and get that meeting in the book, and hopefully we can get a meeting set up before full council meets to get the majority of providers in the room. I've also contacted CAB to get them to come to full council to talk about universal credit and to give some information to members about, signposting people towards sources of help as well. So that's happening. And obviously that's the recommendations that are on there, but I'm actually actioning those anyway, although they're recommendations, we don't need to revisit those. The rest of Objective 5, there was no recommendations to move the time scale around, although if you look at 5.5, which is ensuring that suitable infrastructure support is available to voluntary sector partners, by ensuring support is available to support governance, funding and volunteering across Stanley. And if you look at that one, and then you look at Objective 6, which is about actively seeking external funding and income generation opportunities, and then you look at Objective 6.7, which is about making sure that we can get partners together to maximise the CLLD money, and then you look at, if you're externalising things, you need some monitoring. I mean, I've said on the report that actually this is screaming to me that we need a funding and monitoring officer in the town council because it's a full-time job. If you're looking at a fundraiser who can give infrastructure support and community development support to local projects on how to get funding, how to access support, what pots of money are out there, that's a job. That's not a bolt onto someone else's job. That's a job, and I think that needs to be reflected in the proposals that we bring forward on the structure. So that again is Objective 6, the recommendation from last night, and clearly Objective 6 is clearly this committee's objective, if you like, but they decided to put something forward on it anyway and said that we should get the staffing structure. Blame Councillor Timmy, it was him that put it forward, that we should get the staffing structure in place as soon as possible. And Objective 9, because I looked at the amount of work that there is in the rest of the plan, I'd recommended that we kick that one down the road a little bit, but the committee said, no, we can't kick that one down the road a little bit, that needs to be brought forward as well. So, again, they want a budget allocated against that, and they want us to start making some contacts with Beamish because they know we're pointing us in the right direction of some heritage consultancies who can help us with heritage funding, etc., etc., etc. Again, it screams that we need a funding stroke monitoring officer on board with the council. So those are the recommendations from projects last night. We went through it point by point. It's down to you and the committee chairman whether you feel that you want to go through this point by point or whether you actually want me to throw that into another draft budget and then you want to start honing away at that rather than, unless there's any big items that you need to discuss.
Is there anything that anyone feels that they would like to have a conversation about that's in the medium term plan?
Everybody's happy, I'll know that we put that course of action. There's a recommendation from the committee last night.
I mean, it's obviously going to come back to full council. It will come back with this document redrafted, with the timeline altered, with the draft budget, hopefully knocked into some semblance of order, and then we can have the full discussion about it at that stage.
Are people happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quicker than last night's discussion about that. So number 10, we've already deferred that. Number 11, sorry, Chairman, when we were going through the process of changing the signatories and sorting the banking out recently, our business manager from Barclays was talking to us about our bank accounts, our current bank account, when you look at the bank statements, we have a savings account and we have what's called a mixed payment plan, which is a current account. And what we do at the moment is the money stays in the savings account, and then when we know what money is going out that week, we transfer it to the current account, just like most other organisations, I guess. What our advisor was saying was that because we have a mixed payment plan, we get a transaction fee charge on every transaction, whether it's a cheque, whether it's a credit card payment, whether it's through PayPal, whatever it is, we get charged a transaction fee. If we were to have an e-payments plan, which would be another current account if you like, electronic payments wouldn't be charged. So every time we pay something by back, or we pay by card, or we wouldn't get a transaction fee charged against that. So what I'm suggesting, because at the moment we're not authorised, obviously we have the capability to do back payments, but we're not authorised to do back payments. We have some things set up on direct debit, mainly utilities and things like that, which goes through the payments that are approved. But we can't make a direct back payment. We have to raise a cheque for a cheque payment, or use the card if we can, because we've got a purchasing card capability. What I would like to put forward is that we are given the authority to raise back payments, because we can get 99% of our payments done electronically and not have to raise all these cheques, which administratively, if we raise a cheque, we have to obviously get it signed by a member, signed by an officer, it has to be photocopied, it has to be filed, it has to be, there's an admin process around all the bits of paper that have to be posted in envelopes and all this kind of stuff. If you do a back payment, you have a schedule of payments, someone goes on, bang. Now the way that the systems work is that, these electronic systems work, is that one person can't do all the transaction. So for example, if we were doing a back payment, the way that payments work in the office now, the practical way they work is that the requests for payment come in, they come across my desk, I look at them, check them, make sure that they're not crazy, and then I authorise them. Susan then raises the payment, Nicola then signs the cheques, and a member countersigns the cheques. Now, it would be a lot simpler if once the payment's authorised, we could then have them raised on the system by one authorised signatory, which would be Nicola, because we're the only two officers, and then I release the payments by, so there's a cross-check there. We can then print a schedule of those payments off on a weekly basis, circulate them to the chairman of the committee, chairman of the council, etc., and whoever needs to see them, and they can then be given retrospective authority in the same way that they are now, but just on a more fluid basis, and then we'd still report the payments on a monthly basis. It would make things a lot simpler, and it would reduce our bank charges substantially, because we'd never have to write a cheque again, essentially, apart from the small grants payments where people can't accept back payments or whatever. Although we could actually require people to have a bank account we can pay a back payment into before we'll issue a grant. That's not terribly onerous, because we don't like giving money to unconstituted bodies anyway. So that's essentially what's being put forward, Chairman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, I think it's a good idea, and it also stops the people who after 6 months haven't presented your cheque and then you've got to re-issue them, because they keep coming up where they haven't been presented. They go to organisations, they either forget or they lose the cheque, and then it's months before you find out with the back payments that'll obviously happen. The bit I don't understand though is, I've got 3 bank accounts and I can make a back payment from any of them and don't need a separate one to make backs. Why is that all?
Well, you can make a back payment. The mixed payment plan we've got at the moment, like I say, it has, because it handles mixed payments. I mean, cheques are very old hat these days.
Yeah.
We get charged a transaction fee. If we've got an e-payments plan, we would basically have 3 accounts. One will be just a checking account, and for nothing else other than writing out cheques. And then we'll use the e-payment account for everything else as a current account, and then the other account is the savings account, which yields a very small amount of interest.
The thing what David is asking is why you need 2 accounts. Why can't you just make a back payment from the account you've got?
You get charged for it.
Because we get charged for it.
It's not an E.
We can make a back payment from the account we've got, but it's a mixed payments plan, which means we get a transaction fee for every transaction, whether or not it's electronic. So at the moment we do make direct debit payments and standing order payments from our mixed payments plan, but we get charged a transaction fee by Barclays for doing so. If we have an e-payments plan, then all the electronic payments get set up against that one, and we don't get transaction fees. And the only thing we use the mixed payment account for is cheques. So that way, we get, at the moment, we get charged for every single transaction, which is why when you look at the budget of the banking fees, I know that this has been queried in the past, why do we get these banking fees? So if we look in the budget, and this is printed off today, where is it? Let's say bank charges.
Page 4.
Page 4. Is it?
Bank charges.
Bank charges, here we go. So the year to date, £888. Last year we spent £2,000. That is the vast, there are some other charges, but the vast majority of that is transaction charges. So we could save potentially 1,500 quid over a year by doing this. It's a small amount, but they all add up. And also, most, we are, unfortunately, a lot of our suppliers, when we say, well, we need to send you a cheque, they're like, what? Everyone wants a tax payment, everyone wants faster payments. It makes things a lot easier to, there is still safeguards on the account because it needs one of us to raise the payment, another one of us to authorise it. So, in terms of anti-fraud measures, there would need to be collusion amongst the staff for any electronic payment to be made, because you need two people to authorise it.
I'm just asking because I don't want to incur them charges.
No.
My farmer's Lloyd's. I have to do it with them, so part of it is different. But I will, at this point, just say that we need more than 2 councillors to be on that account, and that's all we've got at the moment.
It is at the moment.
We need other people who come and be willing, but you do get involved because you get a school, you get everything involved, as if you had your own account then. But we do need more.
Thanks, Chair. Wholeheartedly agree with going through it. Obviously it's going to save money, allegedly it's going to save time as well, which is, it might save me £1,500 in time as well, I don't know. But I had a little query. At the minute, when you send out MIFs or whatever payments that are community groups and things, once we have a check, then you have some sort of pro forma in with it as well. So I'm just wondering, when you send them a backs payment, will you be sending them an email at the same time to say we'll put the backs payment for your whatever it is, or whatever amount in the bank today? Please go down, have a check and make sure you've got it and let us know if there's any problems or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of groups, like my athletics club, we only get our bank statement once a month, so we don't have a net banking or anything like that because we're just a small group, so it could be sort of 5 weeks.
Well, I think if the council authorises this change, then obviously what we need to do is we then need to review other things that are going to be impacted on that. And the MIF process would be one, in terms of the finance. I'm not reviewing the whole process again, thank you very much, but just how we do the payments. And obviously grants would be another one. Because yeah, absolutely. What we want to do is make it easier, so we could actually look to move towards, at the moment we have a MIF form which is completed manually because we want all the signatures and stuff on it, what people are asking for. But there's no reason why we couldn't do the confirmation of the payment and even send out the monitoring form electronically. So there might be some scope to improve on that. We are, the vast majority of people that we deal with now would prefer a backs payment to a cheque. And if they can accept a backs payment, they can probably accept an email. Yeah.
Just as an aside, do the council, like yourselves, have an annual or a biannual chat with the banks to make sure that the accounts that we do have are actually the best? You know how sometimes with your personal accounts, somebody will ring in and say, we've noticed X, Y, Z's happening, we've actually got a new account. You can have that, you get this free, that free, and it's a business account, so I know it's slightly different.
We've just had that conversation, that's why this recommendation is in front of you now.
But is it something that we do, is it just purely because you were changing your signature?
It's not something we've done, that we've looked at in any detail today, but you're right, we should, what we probably should do is, not right now, but what we probably should do in another year's time is actually, look around and see if we can get better banking deals elsewhere.
Yeah.
For right now, I'm just happy that we have some.
I'm can't suggest that you do anything right now. Just going forward,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously, especially
Yeah.
business accounts, sometimes I know you can get better terms from different
Oh,
banks
absolutely,
and you know.
Yeah.
Good idea.
No, I think you're right. I think it's something we should perhaps build in, that we do an annual review and do a little bit of a sort of shopping around exercise to see if we can get better deals.
Good point.
But not at the moment.
But not right this second.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with what you said. No reason, no. All you can be sure is whichever bank you're with, they're going to get the maximum amount of review that they can.
I mean, the reason, one of the key reasons that I think that we're part of it is because they're one of the few banks on Stanley Front Street, and you know, we do need to take in big amounts of cash from the Civic Hall. You know, so when we cash up the takings from the Civic Hall, then, you know, a member of staff needs to take those takings and pay them in. And actually, if they haven't got a branch in Stanley, then we're incurring costs taking that cash somewhere to pay it back.
Oh no, I'm not suggesting that you go.
But you know, it's certainly worth looking at the other banks that they are. Santander and Lloyds on the Front Street.
Yeah.
It's worth looking at.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so our recommendation is that the committee should recommend to full council settlement of account by backs be authorised.
Yeah.
A second current account for electronic payments be authorised to reduce the council's bank charges.
Yeah.
And backs payments are reported to the committee on a monthly basis as at present, but a schedule of backs payments is presented to the authorised signatories on a weekly basis with the check, signature, the checking and signature.
The number 4 check. Number 4.
Yeah?
The policies as Alan mentioned, it's the MIF policy and the grants policy, altered to reflect the fact that that we'll be starting to pay people buybacks, and it'll not be quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Anyone else for another one on that one? No? Is everyone happy with those?
Yeah.
Do you agree then? Yeah. Thanks very much. Finally, item 12, Diane's word. Leslie, you're going to take us through that?
This is a campaign which has been led by the KUC. Been run for about 6 months now. Basically, it's non-cost effective to the council, it costs them nothing. It's to give dignity in a hope, you know, and pray. It's for the staff members, it's not for us. And it's about anybody that is diagnosed with terminal cancer. Because of the policies that are in place within local government and the staff, if they're diagnosed with any terminal illness, they would have to go through the normal sickness procedures, which is, they don't really want to go through it because of what they've been diagnosed with. What this campaign does is makes it easier for the individual to deal with what they're going through, but it also gives them a choice of, because the local government workers, they're in the pension scheme, they're given 2 options, and they make that choice on their individual things. This leaflet that we've all got, this gives a lot of good bullet points, but the choices are, you're given the employee a choice of, do you want to go now as a capability issue, and then you would access your pension directly because you've got a terminal illness, or you can stay in service and through the local government pension scheme. If you die in service, and we've got to talk about death, but if you die in service, you get 3 times your annual salary, which is something, you know, some people want the lump sum because they've got a bucket list of what they want to do before they die, and that's giving them that. But on the other hand of it, and I'm dealing with it from the TU side, where people are dying and diagnosed with terminal illness, getting younger and younger, and they've got young dependents. So if this is brought in for the death in service, they're leaving their dependents 3 times their annual salary through the pension. It's a national campaign. There's a lot of trade unions that have signed up to it. The North East is a little lagging should we say, behind the rest of the country. At this present time in the North East, Durham Fire and Rescue Service have already signed up to it. There's a parish council which used to adopt it, but they haven't signed it off yet. They've accepted it. Stanley Town Council are in the process of doing it. Hopefully we are in the process of doing it, and Durham County Council are looking to implement it as well. It's given dignity to employees and given them the choice of what they want to do with that money if they've been diagnosed terminally. When and if we sign up to it, somebody from the TUC comes out because it's TUC led, and there's a signing ceremony. And one thing I hope, if this is adopted, we have both leaders of both parties there, with the town clerk and some representatives of the staff for a nice photo shoot to say that Stanley Town Council care about their employees, and this going forward is something that we look to go with.
Thanks very much.
I support that.
Points that anyone would like to make?
I mean, I doubt that we would have picked up on this if it hadn't been for less in the position you're in. And I think it's a great thing to do. I don't think that anybody will be objecting to it. And hopefully none of our staff ever find themselves in that position. But nobody knows what's around the corner. None of us. And I think it's worthy of our support.
Anything else from anyone else? No? Do we want to?
But just to Les, I mean, it says it on the report, but just to confirm it, this doesn't cost the town council anything, does it?
Nothing. It absolutely costs nothing to the town council, because the employees will be contributing to the pension scheme. It's the pension scheme that money comes out of. It's nothing to do with us as wage, as staff getting paid a wage.
Basically what this policy is building a shortcut through our sickness policies.
It's quite it's giving them a choice. Do they want to bypass it early by going on capability so they can access the pension, or the stay in employment and legal legacy. I'm dealing with people 35, 40-year-old that are diagnosed, and they've got 3 young kids. I've got 3 kids that's gone ongoing at the minute. It's heartbreaking.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I wouldn't deny it. It's just I find it's a weird one, because obviously I've worked for the Department of Work and Pensions for a long time, and various people that I've worked with have been in that situation, and they already have that in their terms and conditions. So I take it council doesn't.
Civil service conditions are different to local.
So it's not the same, because obviously obviously I'm in the PCS and whatever, and that was an option that you got fairly early if you were diagnosed with a terminal illness, that basically you could choose. Do you want your money now so you can live your life to your full, enjoy it with your family or whatever, or do you want to leave it, go through the normal rigmarole of whatever, and they get it at the end. And obviously 90% of people in my took the money, stopped work and lived the rest of their life in happiness with their money with it.
Well, that wasn't ever around.
If any councillor wants to Google the campaign,
I'm not.
put Dying to Work, you'll find there's a massive TUC back with all the trade unions that are backing it. It also gives you every local authority, health service, town councils, and there's a few private sectors coming in as well, so which is really great.
I mean, I'm sensing consensus, but just for the paperwork, can someone move? I'll propose it. I'll say. Is that agreed? Yeah, so that goes forward to full council.
Okay. Date and time, venue of next meeting?
The venue will be the Civic Hall. We have to confirm we've got Civic Hall already.
So, Civic Hall on the 13th of December.
And we'll even put some mince pies on. I'll pay for those myself.